maximize the sessions as we will be making available. So first of all, let me thank everyone for making it out to be here at this particular session. So this is what will be shared with us today mostly, and that is Becoming a High Growth Entrepreneur series. And I'll be taking it. My name is Stephen Olatobi, the founder of EduStart Global. I'm also the creator of Human Startup Lab, Covenant University. And thankfully, we've done a number of things, and we hope we can share a bit of those things during this particular series. Right here, we have a number of persons, university students, early stage startups, and a number of persons, as I can see, I can identify some persons right here at the attendee list. This webinar feature, so I'm the only one of anyone who is on the panelists section that can see every other person on the attendee list. But there's a Q&A button there for anybody who would like to have some questions to ask, even as I proceed, and I hope that we can make the most of the particular session. So let's just quickly proceed and buy up some time. Technical hitches didn't allow us to start quite on time, but thankfully we are making progress right here. So for your patience, we can just proceed now. So I'll just begin with this particular series. And my way of introduction is just simply saying, what exactly is high growth entrepreneurship and what does it mean to you? Why do you need to be one? And is becoming an entrepreneur actually meaning that you shouldn't pursue your dream if you want to become a professional or something? And becoming an entrepreneur does not mean that it's just about starting a company. You can be an entrepreneur without actually starting a company, and you can be an entrepreneur while working in an existing organization. Like I will often say, entrepreneurship is a mindset, it's a way of thinking. But how can you operate at that particular high growth level of becoming a high growth entrepreneur? And that's what becoming a high growth entrepreneur really is about. And we're going to be, embarking on this series today, being the introduction, and we'll just, start with a particular segment and get everyone to buy into it. And I want to strongly believe that if you will pay rapt attention to this and you apply this, because these things have been proven. I've proven this for up to 10 years now. They've worked for those that have used them for, they've worked for me, and possibly we can always advance and improve ourselves individually as an organization and also as a nation to advance causes. So I look forward to us doing much more together with this. So what exactly does high growth entrepreneurship mean? So let's just look at it from this perspective. It's really about creating prosperity, right? So one of the smartest ways to create and build wealth is through entrepreneurship. That's one of the smartest ways. And I'm going to be using a few examples as we move along just to help us, see from that particular perspective on how possible is this and how does this really play out. Also, entrepreneurship connotes creating prosperity from solving problems using what we often call the factors of production. So when we talk about prosperity, what exactly are we talking about? And how does problem relate with here? So what we actually call prosperity is seen as problem somewhere else. It's just the entrepreneur's ability to see things differently that helps him or her to see that what we actually call problems actually is prosperity. And I'm going to explain that. So let's look at a few things. Let's look at some of the problems that we face in the world today. One of it is communication. So before now, communication was not as easy as we have it today. So if I fast track, this is 2020. So let's say year 2000, how were we communicating? I mean, 1999, we didn't have GSM fully operational in Nigeria. So how are we communicating? We might need to go maybe to a phone center, pay some person some amount of money, huge amount of money to communicate, even within the country. And we'll pay a lot more if we want to communicate with someone outside the country. Fast forward about 20 years afterwards, 2020, we're able to communicate at little or no cost via WhatsApp. Whether you're in Nigeria, whether you're outside Nigeria, you can communicate effectively, whether by voice or by text. And that's because some person sat down to actually solve that problem. And in the process of solving the problem, they're able to also create prosperity in the process. So if I pick something like a WhatsApp, for instance, which was bought in billions of dollars, I will try to measure things that have taken place through the time so far and how these guys have created so much value that Facebook bought it in billions of dollars. Like, how does that really play out? How possible is that? This company started, just in the this decade, in the early 2000s, and it was bought for that so much value in billions of dollars, just because the founders were able to solve the problem around communication. And not just that, other platforms have also done that. But for every single organization or teams of persons who have started ventures or startup companies to solve the problem around communication, they've created and made lots of fortunes. They've created prosperity in the process because they're willing to solve that problem. And that's exactly what is meant when I said entrepreneurship connotes creating prosperity from solving problems. Let's pick another problem, say energy. Um, so Nigeria, for instance, is one of the places where we have issues around energy. Not every single person has access to good electricity. But if we can figure out how to solve that problem, we'll be getting prosperity in the process. So for those who independent power suppliers or energy suppliers who supply to estates, maybe estates or regions that are up to about 1 million persons, and they made maybe a fraction in terms of margins of say $50 times 1 million persons. That's 50 million US dollars. It's just about solving a problem and creating prosperity in the process. We can pick education and also draw some insight from there of food or feeding or healthcare or energy, mobility, security, corruption. All these are problems. So while the average mindset, sees these kinds of problems and complains about them, another kind of mind, which is the entrepreneurial mind, sees it differently as an opportunity to solve a problem and create prosperity in the process. And that's why I said entrepreneurship is not just about you started a company. It's actually a way of thinking which can be applied whether you are working in an existing organization or you started a company or venture of your own. But it's mostly about how you view problems and the approach with which you can do that and create prosperity in the process. So let's look at some examples. I'm very sure we're familiar with this guy called Aliko Dangote. He's solving a huge problem. So let's think of it. What are the things that this guy does? He produces salt. He produces sugar. How much is salt? How expensive is salt? I mean, even the poor man can afford salt and can afford sugar. But this guy has made fortunes solving the problem of making sure that even the poor can afford salt and sugar. So his margin per pack might not be huge, but the volume of persons or the number of persons by which is solving their problems in terms of making salt or sugar available to them, they are in millions in Nigeria, and going beyond Nigeria, the number increases. That's just to see that this thing we call entrepreneurship is about solving problems and creating prosperity in the process. And that's what makes it high growth entrepreneurship. If you're able to combine the ability to view problems differently and also create prosperity in the process, that's what makes it high growth entrepreneurship. So think of cement. People will continue to build houses, build structures, maintain things that are to do around structures. He has also invested in that and he makes cements available. Then go to cement. So we have Dangote sugar, we have Dangote salt, we have Dangote cement, and he's making a fortune, not by doing something really extraordinary, but just by solving the problems of a lot of persons. So we can draw wisdom from that by saying that the more problems we're able to solve for a huge number of persons, the more prosperity of fortune we're able to make from the process. Unfortunately, not many persons see it that way. They put the money first before the value. And so they're unable to find out where the money is or follow the money. And so they don't end up as high growth entrepreneurs. So it becomes short term, which explains why we have lots of entrepreneurs who fail from the first 3 years of starting. And so this is able to help us to identify where the gaps are and how we can fill those gaps and do something really remarkable. This is another example of Thomas Edison. So Thomas Edison, like we all know, is the guy who invented the light bulb and also contributed to the aspect of electricity. This man made a huge fortune by literally supplying electricity or powering New York after I discovered electricity. He's also the founder of General Electric, which also makes quite a number of things from aircraft engines to financial sectors and quite a number of things, just because he was able to solve the energy problem. Prior to this time, the world that's at that time were raising candles, lanterns to have lights. But in his own mind, he was thinking, how can we solve the problem around this, where we have electricity or light that won't bring out fuel, or candles that will never go off, but will just keep themselves all on. And those of us who know his story, we know that he conducted an experiment and he tried and failed about almost 10,000 times. It was about the 10,000th time that was able to figure out what the problem is. So, and that's why I said entrepreneurship about finding out that solution, solving a problem, and figuring out how to create prosperity from the process. And that's what makes it high growth entrepreneurship. So let's pick another example that is closer home or that is also close to the particular age range that falls into the categories of some of those that we have right here in this particular webinar. So this is Audrey Winnie, a graduate of Covenant University, 2013 set. Co-founded, this is actually their second company that they co-founded called PiggyVest. Was first of all called Piggybank. And they figured out a problem that most millennials usually face, and that's the problem of savings. Millennials, before they started, hardly saved money because there was no opportunity to really save. Millennials are the categories of persons, that don't really trust banks that much. So if they're keeping their money in the bank, they're keeping their money just because it's the place where they're receiving it as salaries or someone sends money to them. As far as they're concerned, is get the money, spend the money. But these people, although being part of the team, thought of a solution that could make savings a lot easier and also motivate or incentivize the need for saving. And that's what led to the birth of PiggyVest. Solving that problem, they've been able to create fortunes from the process while solving the problems of millennials. And if you look at those who are users of PiggyVest, it's not just millennials anymore. So the way this whole game plays out is that while you're trying to solve one person's problem, you could be solving a billion person's problems while making $1 from each of the billion persons whose problems you're solving. So that's how the game works. Let's pick another example. This is Temigiwa Tubosun. And I brought this example so that we can also see the social dimension to this. So it's not just about measuring success just in terms of how much money is being made. So this is the founder of Life Bank. She started this company just a few years ago. And the idea is to see how we could help people who need blood, imagine those who have particular types of blood with those who need those particular type of blood, whether it is type O, type A, type B, whatever type of blood or genotype or whatever. So the platform is such that people can easily donate their blood, and those who need the blood can always meet them to get the blood. And they've also designed the logistics system around it to ensure that the delivery of the blood and the preservation of the blood is also made available, and people don't have to die because they've built a system around it. So these examples are brought into the fore here just to express the importance and value of solving problems, which is what entrepreneurship really is. So it begins with the problem. Entrepreneurs take challenges as raw materials to create prosperity. And with that, they're able to build a track record and become superstars in the process. And what makes them really superstars is because they're able to identify problems worth solving and actually solving the problems. So what does it take really? It takes a few things. One of it is guts. And guts for me basically has to do with the loss of fear or the ignorance of failure. Um, Not paying attention to failure. The consciousness of failure in itself is enough to make you fail, because being conscious of failure makes you not want to take the action. And not taking the action means that you're going to fail because you're not doing it. I think it was someone who said that you miss 100% of the shots not taken. I mean, you don't take the shots, so you obviously miss the shots. But what's the opportunity that you would have gained from taking such shots? So screw it, let's do it, like Richard Branson will say. So it takes guts to be able to do some of these things. And as we move along, we'll see where all this plays out and where we can draw the guts from, because I'll be leading us through into the first phase of the series shortly. The second thing here is a unique and exceptional perspective, a way of thinking. Like I said, the entrepreneur thinks differently. His way of thinking is such that when he sees a problem, he's figuring out how that problem can be solved efficiently and profitably, and how much value can be captured in the process. So that requires a very unique and exceptional perspective, because the average way of perspective or average way of thinking is mostly around seeing a problem and complaining about the problem. Like up to about 85% of persons see problems and complain about them. Just very few persons, exceptional minds that see problems differently as opportunities to solve problems and capture value and create prosperity in the process. It also takes a level of thinking, as I mentioned, to see challenges as breakfast and create prosperity in the process. Basically, seeing things differently. And so, if you don't see entrepreneurship this way, every other thing that you think entrepreneurship is can be considered a misconception. And many misconceptions and misperceptions exist around entrepreneurship. And that's why many entrepreneurs and startups fail even more than we have successes. So what we're going to be doing as we're going to be beginning the first aspect of this series is we're going to be focusing on being rather than doing. And these are kind of like verbs, but I'm sure as we move along, we'll understand what that really means. Focusing on being helps you to achieve a lot of things, because when you become, it's easy for you to do. So what I'll be asking you to do is focus on being, and doing will become easy or fluid. So when it comes to entrepreneurship, there is what to be before you do, since doing depends a lot on being. And that's why this series is more about becoming. So let's go on this journey and this series. And I would like you not to miss any of the series. It's starting today, and it will continue also same time next week and the same platform. So any of your friends or colleagues or fellow classmates that that needs this or has a dream of becoming an entrepreneur, or needs to do more or wants to become more, you can always let them know about this and spread the word as we drive this movement of creating prosperity, because the mission of EduStart actually is to create multi-billion-dollar businesses through entrepreneurs, and you are one of such persons. So in this series, we'll be looking at these categories. In the first piece of the series, we'll look at these categories. First is finding yourself, which is the foundation for the becoming that we're talking about. The second is the entrepreneurship mindset, which is the perspective or way or level of thinking that makes the high-growth entrepreneur. And the third is escaping deception, which helps us to see what entrepreneurship is not. And the fourth is entrepreneurial reflexes, which looks at how you can program yourself to respond to issues entrepreneurially, and you automate that process. That's what this series will be looking at. This is going to take us to roughly about 4 weeks. And then we'll move to the second aspect of the series. All right, so let's just start with the first one, which is finding yourself, becoming a high-growth entrepreneur. And I'm going to ask a few questions as we go along in this. So what does self-discovery have to do with entrepreneurship? Because this is one of the questions that I believe you should have in your mind, even as we move along with this. What does it have to do with what we're really doing? Because finding yourself actually captures aspects around self-discovery. Now, how does finding yourself also helps to drive your entrepreneurial success? So this is another question that I expect will be answered even during this particular session. And also remember the things I've said earlier on, that true entrepreneurs scout for and accept challenges to create prosperity, and they build their track record in the process to become superstars. But doing all these kinds of things requires a very unique perspective and a dimension of thinking. In addition to that, doing these things actually demands courage. I mentioned when I was trying to express what it takes. Courage is what it takes. It's one of the things that will be demanded. Guts actually are demanded. You need plenty of guts to do that. And this is not to scare you. This is just to say that you actually have guts, but certain things will cloud you from exercising your guts or your courage, which I expressed when I was giving the background introduction. And one of such is your consciousness of failure, or the respect that you might have for fear. So you have to disrespect fear a lot here. So let's just proceed on this. A good portion of courage which you need to start or become a high-growth entrepreneur comes from a few number of things which I'm going to share, some of which are already highlighted on the screen. So like I said, it is focus on becoming first of all before doing. Focus on being before doing. If you start with doing, there's a huge challenge with that. How many things have you set as New Year resolutions, and you've told yourself, even gotten accountability partners to say that from today, I will start doing this. From this new year, I'll start doing this, but you never do them because you're trying to do before being. Focus on being. When you do that, doing becomes easy. For instance, you need to be meek and be disciplined to be able to do certain things. It's difficult for you to do certain things if you don't first focus on being meek and being disciplined or being committed in doing certain things. So this particular session is to help you focus on being. Unfortunately, you might be hearing some new things that I'll be sharing, which might kind of like conflict with some of the things you had in terms of ideas, but I'm starting from the foundation. Like I said, I've done this like for 10 years, and I know it has worked for those I've used them for, and I hope it works for you. And so I'm trying to focus on the foundation so that we can build from the ground up and see to it that you have a foundation that whatever you build on stands, rather than join the bandwagon of startups that fail from the first, second, and third year of their starting. So we're getting to the foundation here. So one of the things that you must become is to be courageous. And a good portion of your courage will come from, one, a clear understanding of yourself. Next is a good understanding of what you're capable of doing and what you're capable of. Another is your knowledge and experience bank. The things you've done over the years kind of like gives you confidence. The things you know also gives you confidence. It's just like a student who is preparing for an examination and has not gathered enough knowledge well enough. That student will enter into the examination hall with some dimension of fear. Or you want to start a venture and you don't know so much about it. Starting it um, kind of like, gives you some dimension of fear because you don't know so much about it. So the more you're ignorant, the more you fear, basically. That's actually what it means. So there's a very strong relationship between your level of ignorance and your level of fear. Another good portion of your courage comes from your desire and experiment to learn, which we can summarize as meekness or humility. You know, people have defined humility as bringing yourself like low. It's not actually about bringing yourself low. It's about um, the desire to learn and wanting to know and to become the best that you can be. Um, and that's what really it's about. So your desire to experiment and to learn is what it's about. A good portion of your courage also comes from your disrespect for the fear of failure and the fear of rejection also. So let's just summarize that as fear. Also a desire to solve problems, a hunger and a drive to see that problems are solved, not just complained about or talked about. I mean, we have so much talk around, problems. I mean, you don't need to be smart to know that there's a problem, but you need a higher level of smartness to be able to solve such problems. And you can't solve the problem at the same level at which it was created. You need a higher dimension of thinking and smartness. Another good portion of your courage comes from a reward. So when there's an incentive, somehow that sparks and motivates you to be courageous. And please hold on to all these things because they'll be connecting to a few things that I'm mentioning as we advance. So what's your relationship here? Um, how does self-discovery influence or affect entrepreneurship? And how does that lead to building a startup? Let's just pick a few case studies here. Some of us know this guy called Kevin Hart. So Kevin Hart has been playing like silly pranks since he was a teenager. In fact, before he was 10. Um, he's well known for playing pranks even with his mom, making people, laugh, expressing cartoonish, playful characters. And I mean, this guy is someone that um, if you see him, you consider him someone as very unserious or maybe stupid. But that's actually a gift. That's something about him that he has found out. And he has been able to respect that and love himself for that and has built an empire around that and created fortune around that. I mean, his present net worth is about 200 million US dollars from acting stupid, like someone will think or say. He has just found himself and respected himself. And as a result, people now, like him and respect him because he chose to stand his ground and respect himself. From his testimonial, we can see that um, there's a lot inside you, and all that you'll ever need actually is inside you. Is just how much you value and respect them that determines how much fortune or prosperity you can create from the process. But because of people's opinions and what society says about what you think you have as a gift, you have not valued them that much. Which is why you must be bold and courageous enough to shut your ears to what the noise of society says and begin to value what you have as a gift. Because we understand that the gift of man will always make room and ways for him. Let's look at another instance. This is Jay-Z. So Jay-Z, also while he was a kid, was known to make beats, using the kitchen tables, rap in the streets, started to release records and albums, made his millions of dollars, invested that, ventured into other aspects, invested in a few things, and now is seen as one of the billionaires we have in the world today. So he's a billionaire by leveraging on what he has found out about himself. You can tell from the experience of these two examples that we've given that a bulk of your courage comes from a clear understanding of who you are and what you're able to do with it. And as people value those things, they're even willing to reward you and pay you for those things that you have as a gift. Let's pick another example. This is Michael Jordan. I mean, for those of you who have seen the documentary called The Last Dance, which is a documentary that expressed a number of things about the Chicago Bulls and this character called Michael Jordan. So Michael Jordan, even to date, is recorded as the highest paid sportsman, even after he has retired for over a decade, decades past. He's still recognized as the highest paid. And I wonder where is he being paid from? Well, brands are making products in his name. Nike is one of such. So we have the Air Jordan brand. Um, Nike pays him huge fortune every year for using his name and for that particular brand called Air Jordan. Being an investor also, he takes whatever he makes, he invests. So he has made huge fortune from his passion, beginning first of all as a basketballer, which is a game he loved, and then growing up from there. And a bulk of his confidence came a lot from finding out who he was and respecting what he could do and doing much more things from that process. Let's pick another example, a woman in this case, and that's Oprah Winfrey. So Oprah Winfrey knew she was meant for the TV, but she couldn't figure out what exactly. But she started first of all by newscasting, and she did badly casting news, um, and started to question whether she knew who she was or not, because even though she had the flair for TV, casting news was not, going well for her. But something happened a particular time when she was pushed over to manage a show in the station that she worked in. And she did exceptionally well there. Then she found out that yes, she was meant for the TV, but not for newscasting, but for doing something less formal. And so this led her to starting her own show called The Oprah Winfrey Show. And this woman started to make headline news, made huge fortune, and is one of the most respected billionaires we have in the world today, solving huge problems, social issues, doing things that help to, promote the female gender, and quite a number of things that she has done just by finding out who she was and respecting herself rather than suffering from this thing called low self-esteem. So there's huge value in finding yourself. In fact, becoming a high-growth entrepreneur just me going ahead of what I planned. Uh, the foundation for becoming a high-growth entrepreneur is finding yourself. All I'm trying to do with this introduction is to help you see that that's where the foundation is. You don't have that foundation, you won't last long. You need to have a base to build on. This is another example. Tyler Perry, who had a background that you could term negative, had an abusive father, saw his father abuse his mother. But every single experience he had, like he will say, all his stories and characters in the movies that he has created today came from all the sufferings of his childhood days. So he's able to create characters, positive, negative characters, all from that. And he has created fortune from that. So all that has happened, that people could term bad, we're all blessings in disguise. I mean, all his negative experiences while growing up became the place where he started to feed from today, just because he was able to find who he was and respect, his journey over time and in years. This is another example coming back here to Nigeria. We know this guy called Ayomakun, also a comedian. We call him AY, right? So he also respects his value and his gifts. From his school days, I mean, he had been doing skits, conversing with people, sharing, doing stand-up comedy basically, and got to be known for that. Started to support brands, promote brands like Motina and the rest. Does a few number of things and has built fortune doing that. So who are you exactly, and how can you tap into your true wealth and do something really remarkable with it? Becoming anything worthwhile begins with the discovery of self. So I'll ask that question again. Who are you? Because your foundation depends, first of all, on finding yourself. And I hope that this particular webinar will help you figure out who you are. So let's move forward a bit. Some facts I've learned from successful people. And this is our way of thinking, and I'm going to personalize it here. And this is how they think. So they think like this. So see them thinking in their mind, saying things like, I'm never left with nothing. I have at least something to start with. A weaker mind, or a mind that feels lesser than himself or herself, or that does not respect the value of virtues that he or she has, wouldn't think that way. Will always be looking for what he or she needs outside of himself or herself. So those are different levels of thinking. Some other facts I've discovered is that they figure by themselves that the more they discover themselves, the more they are forced to make progress. And they also have this idea that they are their main asset. So Bill Gates, for instance, was asked, if you lose everything you've ever made today, like, what would you do? Like, will you die? Will you commit suicide? What are you going to do? And he said, I mean, nothing's nothing is going to go bad because everything that made Microsoft and the fortune he made, he still has. So this comes from the perception that you know that you are your main asset. So if you lose any other asset that you have, you still have the main asset that was able to make those kind of assets. So it's about you investing in yourself every single time to continually improve your capacity to create value and prosperity every single time. So whatever I do with my main asset determines what comes to me and what goes from me. That's another perspective. Another way that I think is the more they engage their main asset, the more valuable they become. It's just like saying the more you use it, the more you have it. The less you use it, the more you lose it. And the idea is you're your number one leverage. That's another perspective. And the idea is that it is worthwhile task to find yourself and your giving capacity. So what are the important things to draw from here? So if we look at all that has been said, we could put it in this statement, right? That the more of yourself you discover, the more you're confident, the more actions you're able to take because you're confident, the more you're convinced, that is, the more your convictions, the more steps you're able to take in life, the more you attract the right people, the more you repel the wrong people, the more you become a propellant, the more you become an asset, the more you become valuable, and the more people value you, and the more they pay you for your worthiness, and the wealthier or richer you become. So let's look at this. People won't take steps because they don't have the conviction and the confidence to do so. If we think about it, many people have ideas, great ideas that can actually change the world, but you miss 100% of the shots not taken. And the reason you're not taking the shots is because you are still trying to find the courage to take such shots, or you are still doubting in yourself whether it's going to work or to work, or you're still thinking of what people think about you. And I'm going to show you, how all this plays out and the connection around here. And I hope you find yourself, in the process of this. So let's bring out some extracts from this that we've said so far. And these are the 10 extracts: confidence, actions, convictions, small steps, attracting the right people, repelling the wrong people, becoming a propellant, becoming an asset. And these are extracts that I would like you to value and begin to pay attention to, because we're going to make reference to some of them even as we move along in this particular series. So as I mentioned before, you are your number one asset. Your number one leverage. It's not outside you, it's all within. Everything you'll ever need, you have. You can use what you have to exchange for the things that you need. So start from where you have what you have. So start with you. Now, what could go bad? Because I'm saying you should find yourself now. And I just explained to you the connection here and how you can find yourself, get the courage you need, take some actions, build on your convictions, begin to attract the right people and to do things. Um, and maybe some of you might be thinking, what could go wrong? Like, what will I lose? If I don't pay attention to it. So let me help you understand that if you don't discover yourself, certain things could happen. And I'll show you a few of them. Fear of failure, fear of rejection. Discover yourself, you'll just be a yes man. Or type something in the chat section. Can you also hear me? If you can hear me, please use the raise hand button. Can you also hear me? All right, thank you very much. I'll share my screen now so we can, I think that was the internet stuff. Can you see why we need to solve the internet problem in this country? So let me share my screen and then we'll proceed. Can you all see my screen now? Please confirm you can see my screen. If you can see my screen, please just raise your hand. All right, can you all see my screen? If you can see my screen, please just put it in the chat section. Let me see. Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I can proceed then. Thank you. So I wasn't sure of where I got missing from you guys. So let me just take us a bit to this. So I think this is where I was talking about. I said, if you don't discover yourself, if you don't discover you, what will happen? So these are the things that will happen. If you don't discover you, you will live in fear, the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of the future. I mean, this is really dangerous and really cancerous, really extremely dangerous. And you have to deal with that fear, and only you can deal with it. I'm hoping that this class will help you find that switch on that. If you don't discover yourself, you will live in fear. Someone said fear is false appearance appearing real. So it looks real, doesn't make it right. All right? You are more real than the things that scare you. The question is, what will happen if you do it? What if everything goes right? Why are you thinking, what if it goes wrong? You can as well think, what if it goes right? Okay? If you don't discover you, you will be a yes man. Since you don't know who you are, other persons will create stuffs, invite you on board, tell you what to do, and all you have to do is yes, 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 until you don't even know how to say no anymore. All you can say is yes. If you don't discover you, you will always desire to be somebody else. Because someone who has found himself will continue to do things and get some kind of results, and all you can look is, wow, this guy's really good. I wish I were like this guy. Because the guy found himself. All you can do is wish to become someone else. If only you could just discover you and others wish to become like you because you were bold enough to find yourself and to do something remarkable with you and find that switch of confidence to do something really big. If you don't discover you, you will move fast on the wrong road. You're moving fast, but on the wrong road because you've not found you. You've not, found how your round peg fits into the round hole. So you're actually like a round peg still trying to squeeze yourself, push yourself inside the square hole. If you don't discover you, you will depend on others' permission to move forward. So because you're not sure, you'll be saying, what do you think about this? Like, should I do this? If you were me, what would you do? You need people's permission. You mean you're not convinced on your own because you've not found you. If you don't find yourself, you will lack the confidence to be original. If you don't find yourself, you will underestimate your powers and magnify the powers of others. If you don't discover yourself, you will not see your relevance in the world. So, where do you start the journey? And how can you solve this problem to find yourself? Where do you start this journey? Our journey to becoming our best begins with the discovery of ourselves. Just like your own journey to becoming your best begins with you. The discovery of you. It begins with you. And I'm going to be using this tool I call the Smart PC. And I'll be asking some very pungent questions that will help to also dig some facts from inside us and unearth a few things. And I'd like you, after this webinar, to be able to, put this to work on your own. I'm hoping that we could do a workshop that we could exercise more about using this tool. But for this particular webinar, I'm going to tell you about this tool. And then we can have subsequently a workshop to do this and actually help you find yourself. And I'm hoping that time will allow us to do things around one-on-one. To also help people really hack themselves and find themselves and create prosperity, leveraging on the gifts that they have. The ability to be sincere to yourself and answer the questions I'm going to be sharing with you, which actually makes up what the Smart PC is. They're actually relevant in helping to unlock yourself and your creative abilities, as well as your productive abilities. So they're not just mere statements. I'd like you to use them productively to advance things that you're doing. So this is the first one. And it's, who am I? And I'd like you to reflect a bit on that. I mean, this is you asking yourself, who am I exactly? I mean, you heard that statement before. I mean, just 3 words, but very powerful words. Who am I? Have you thought of it? Who am I? Who am I? Like, who am I exactly? Who am I? Think about it. Note it. All right. This is a question of self-discovery. So note it. That's the S of the smart PC. Second question is, why am I here? Why am I where I am? Why am I here on Earth? Why am I in Nigeria? I mean, a number of us have asked ourselves serious questions, like how come I wasn't born in Canada? Um, how come I wasn't born in Dubai or something? Why was I born in this country called Nigeria? Some persons have asked that questions. I mean, such kind of question. Why am I here? This is a question of mission, right? You have a mission here. That's why you're here. So to do what? This is a question of assignment. What am I here to do? To do what? This is not a question you can answer just by just thinking about the surface. It's all inside you. It's all inside. It's all inside. With what will I get it done? This is a question of resource or the question of talents. And next question, how long? This is a question of time. So let's just move and advance a bit. I hope I'm not rushing too fast. I'm just hoping I can work with time because I want to make sure that we don't overshoot time. Ngozi, please just, I hope I'm doing well on time. Ngozi. All right, so let me just proceed. So these are the questions. Simple
Yes, sir.
questions.
I'm following it through here. We
Awesome.
have about
Thank,
6 more minutes.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
So who am I? Question of self-discovery. Why am I here? The question of mission. To do what? Question of assignment. With what? The question of resource. For how long? The question of time. And the P there is purpose and the C there is canvas. That's where the acronym SMART PC came from. All right. So let's break out some key terms from here. Remember, I told you what these things are, right? Remember, resource, time, assignment, mission, self-discovery. So I want to bring out some key terms here. I'm starting with the R of the SMART PC, which is resource. And this refers to your talents, your capabilities, your natural equipments, your natural abilities, your relationships, your networks, your contacts, your educations, your trainings, your experiences, your professionalism. I think a workshop will help us to be able to, drill deep on this, but let me just give like an idea of what your resources are. So what are those things that come naturally to you that you do? People struggle to do it, but for you, it's just natural. Maybe it's talking, maybe it's writing, maybe it's even dancing, or in the case of Kevin Hart, you just make people laugh. Or you're the kind that you pay attention to details, you just see things that people don't see. Or you design or something, very exceptional, unique ability, that's part of your resource. Your capability is part of your resource. Your experiences, you've done certain things in time past, maybe you have 2 or 3 years experience doing it, that's part of your resource. Your education, that's part of your resource. Your networks and relationships, maybe you know somebody that knows somebody who can help somebody have an investment of 50,000 US dollars to get something rolling that can make 50 million US dollars. Such relationship, that's part of your resource. Your professionalism, that's part of your resource. Now, your resource is not just the money you have in your bank account. As long as you think that all the resources you have are the things that you have in your bank account, you continue to see yourself small. You continue to devalue yourself and you think you're worth nothing. But the moment you begin to see yourself that you have something a lot more than those things, you'll be able to find out that you can use exactly what you have to create fortunes because people need those things that you have. And when they begin to pay you and express how much they value those things that you have, you can see how much prosperity you can create from the process. So understand that you have resources to start with. And remember the question of resource basically is with what? So you actually have something to start with. That's the question of resource. You have something to start with, right? The next thing you want to look at here is assignment. So we're trying to link your resource with your assignment. Um, so think of it. If your resource is a hammer, you can easily predict what the assignment of that resource is, right? Is to nail things. I mean, just, that's what the hammer does. If your resource is a microphone, you can easily tell what the assignment of that is. So if you don't know what your assignment is, just make a list of what your resources are and begin to find out what they're used for. That's one way you can figure out pointers to what your assignment is, right? So this refers to what your resources are used for. So what your resources were designed to solve. What were your resources designed to solve? What problems do they solve? What tasks call for the attention of your resource? What activities demand their engagements? What tasks engage them? What tasks make use of them? What tasks put pressure on them? What do people call you for mostly? What are they calling you for? What are they always looking for you? For what? Those things are pointers. The next is mission, right? This covers what your purpose is, your reason for living, what you mean to the world, the reason why you wake up every morning to say, yes, I'm alive today and this is what I'm born to do, right? It's what your resources tell you that you mean in the world, and it's what your assignment informs you about why you exist. The next one is self-discovery. This simply talks about the discovery of your very core. What makes you you? It expresses your values, your habits, your patterns, your cultures, your drives. It's actually what you stand for, what you live for, what drives you, and what keeps you going. And the T there, which is time, talks about the duration or space by which you're going to accomplish what you want to accomplish. It refers to the window of opportunity for getting done the things that you dream to get done. If you don't respect this, all you have is a plan and no results. So you can have the best of dreams and be able to actually pursue and make them happen. But if you don't respect time, you don't accomplish them. Every single thing you ever accomplish can be accomplished in time. So if you don't know how to use time effectively, you most likely be a victim of procrastination, which is basically trying to do tomorrow what you can do today. And you know tomorrow never ends. When tomorrow comes, you say tomorrow again. You say tomorrow again. Many persons have said tomorrow until their tomorrow was the grave, and they never had many things accomplished. That's why a wise man will say things like the wildest place in the world is a graveyard, where we have persons who had dreams that they never accomplished, books they never wrote, houses they never built, things that they thought of and they dreamed, they documented, they even shared, but they never accomplished. Um, so let's draw wisdom from such kind of experiences there. I think it's time for us to take advantage of the Q&A section. Please take note of the Q&A button. If you look at the base of your screen, you find the Q&A button. Please use that to ask a question. I'm willing to ask a question during the Q&A session. So you can start putting your questions there right now so I can wrap this all up. I'm right here. Now, the next thing here is this. There is a time in your life when your energies are high enough to pursue your purpose and your mission. That's a time window of opportunity you don't want to miss or waste. There's a time where you see visions where you have to pursue them and accomplish them. And there's a time where all you can do is dream. You can't execute them. You need other people to execute them because you have advanced in years and in age, maybe 50, 60. Now is when you have your energy. I mean, I've had some conversations with some persons who are advanced in years. And from the conversation, you can tell that they wish they were young again to pursue certain things for those who really have big visions to do things. And so being young is a gift that you don't want to waste. So there's a time you may not be strong enough on your own to pursue your purpose. You should have cultivated an army by then to realize the purpose that needs to be accomplished with or without you. So this is what the smart piece is about. The smart piece is a canvas that is designed to help individuals, organizations, even nations hack themselves and find themselves. And I hope you use that. Ngozi, please just note this for everyone who um, is on here, help to send an email of the smart PC to each of them. I'll make that available so you can share to every single one of them so that they can use based on what I've shared here. And maybe in a workshop that we can dedicate time for, we can engage them to use accordingly. So let me just continue here. Let me proceed to save some time. Now, the smart piece is not something you pick once. Okay, I think I was trying to skip this, but maybe I should just go ahead and just talk about it. So each segment of the canvas has been named and numbered accordingly. You have to use it according to the numbering. For instance, you have to start with the resource segment, which is numbered 1, accordingly. The canvas is a tool sheet you can express on a large sheet. So when you have it, you can print it out, put it somewhere that you can begin to use sticky notes to hack yourself with, and we'll show how to use that in a workshop. I hope we can have a time that we can set aside to have that strictly for that purpose. So the canvas is a tool sheet you can express on a large sheet or on a board, and you respond to each of the segments by answering the questions in each segment on a sticky notes, respectively. The more rounds you're able to use the smart PC, the more you're able to find yourself and see the connection in and out of you. So don't just do something once and just goof out. No. If organizations can invest millions of dollars just to explore and find where oil is, not even to drill the well, just to find out where it is, you are a lot more valuable than oil. So you should be able to spend and invest the time and resources needed to even find out the massive treasures inside you. In case you don't know what that means, think of where Microsoft was in the time of the 1960s or when Bill Gates was born. Microsoft was inside Bill Gates before it was born. Dell was inside whoever founded it before it was born. Toyota was inside the founders before it was born. The iPad was inside Steve Jobs before it was born. How many things are inside you that are yet to be born? So there's a lot that you can do with finding out and investigating yourself and excavating yourself. So you are more than enough oil field that needs to be explored. Lots of things inside you need to find out. From the use of the canvas, you will see that you have something to start with. You, including your assets and your relationships. You will also discover how much capacity you have to give to the world, as well as your potentials to generate wealth. This will enlighten and trigger you to take your life more seriously and more valuably in and out of you. And I hope that this will help you accomplish that. As long as you engage your resources, the more productive you'll be, and the more you're able to achieve a lot more and also get rewarded. This is just to say that you have plenty of assets and you should be fully aware of them. Now, what makes you entrepreneurial is your ability to use what you have as a resource and actually unleash them and see opportunities using them and create wealth and prosperity from them. Because you determine the realization of your future, which is already inside you. Now, the moment you realize that the future and your fortune and your favors are all inside you, and all you just need to do is release them by discovering yourself. That's the moment you know that you are the one in control. So the control is not external, the control is actually internal. It's you who controls. And that's how you should find yourself, find the switch on the courage, and make the move and get something done. And maybe release some more things and do things and set new standards and break existing records and do something remarkable. As I begin to wrap up and get to the conclusion, what's your giving capacity? Your giving capacity can be connected to what your resources are. And I will explain that in form of these questions. How much have you engaged your resources? How much of your resources, and I told you what your resources are, your talents, your natural abilities, your education, your experiences, your networks, your relationships. Those are your resources, not just the cash you have in the bank. So my question is this: how much of these resources are you using to affect the world around you? How much of your networks have you used to help someone go to school? To what extent? How many lives, organizations, institutions have you affected with your resources? How much money have you made using your resources? Do you even use them? Um, how much impact can you make with each of them? Peradventure, you have more than one because not everybody has at least one. How many lives can you transform with each of them? How much money can you make with each of them? As I conclude, let me just share one more thing. Your future and your fortunes are all inside you. And I'd like you to reflect on this question because I know you are doing something presently. But how willing are you to fail at what you have already been known for and termed a success for in order to become successful in who you truly are? Because that's where your fortune is. So that's it for the end of my webinar session for the first in the series here. We'll continue by next week, same time. Ngozi, I think you can take it up from here before we have a few announcements so far. So thank you very much. If there are questions, I would like to attend to them at the Q&A section. Thank you, Ngozi. Thank you.
Okay, Seth. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. So we have one question in the chat. It's from Dai Omona, yes. So he's asking, trying to be a startup consultant, how do I get a business servers to see themselves using this method, especially when they may be reluctant? So I think he is speaking to the smart PC canvas that you made mention of. So please, could you elaborate for me?
Okay,
also,
all right. Okay, should I pick you one after the other?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that for others that would have questions, please just use the Q&A so that we could answer them directly there. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Ngozi. So let me just answer that question. So if I got the question correctly, just correct me if I'm wrong. The person is trying to ask, I think the person is like a startup consultant, right? And he or she is trying to find out how he or she can get possibly clients who will use the tool, I guess. Is that what the question is? Let me find the question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Exactly.
Okay, great, good, good. All right. So just like I started with the introduction, many startups fail than we have startups succeed. Many, lots of it. In fact, to be blunt, out of every 10, just one succeed. Meaning out of every 100, just 10 succeed. Out of every 1,000, just 100 succeed. That's the failure rate. And the reason is that many of them are so excited about the ideas that they forget that there are other things that are connected that will make things work or not work. And that's why in this series of Becoming a High Growth Entrepreneur, what we are starting with first is finding yourself, because we know that's the foundation. That's what we've proven. That's what we've seen work. We've tried other methods. We've seen things that work. We've seen things that doesn't work. So you can share with them. That's the foundation. And since you're a startup consultant, maybe we could even help do a session with you, or maybe we'll also do maybe in the general workshops session that we'll just plan subsequently to see how people can learn how to use this to find themselves and use it more effectively. Because first of all, you need to even know who you are. Because if that's not clear, you'll most likely be a victim of doubt. You continue to doubt yourself. You have the best and brightest of ideas, but doubts will be coming in. You keep asking yourself, what if it works? What if it doesn't work? Like, will this work? Let me just move it aside. And so many persons have moved aside multi-billion dollar opportunities, ventures that they had passed to. And all of a sudden they just, wake up like 2, 3, 4, 5 years later and they're thinking, hey, I thought of this idea somewhere, because they've seen something that someone is doing, and maybe the person has become a multi-billionaire in the process, and they can say, hey, I thought of this idea like 5 years ago. I mean, if I ask the audience by show of hands, I'm sure a number of them have thought of that, or have seen something like that like before. Like, hey, I thought about this, and this person have made millions of dollars. But the difference is that the person had enough guts to make a move and ignored the doubts, didn't doubt himself, because maybe he had some clarity about who he was or who he is or who she is. And that, leverage helped to make some moves. And that's why it begins with finding yourself. That's the beginning. That's the foundation. I didn't start with what every single person will expect becoming a high growth entrepreneur will be, because that won't stand if we don't have this set. The foundation needs to be set. And that's why I said, focus on being before doing. Many start with doing first, and so they crash because they've not focused on being first. Become first. That gives the foundation for the doing. The doing is not sustainable if the being is not set. And that's what this is about. Is there another question there?
No, we don't have. However, we can give opportunity for maybe someone that wants to ask question in person. You could just unmute yourself and then ask your question if you don't want to type it.
Okay, so maybe persons raising hands or something. Are there persons raising hands? So, okay, so hands are lowered now. So anybody who would like to ask can therefore use the raise hand button there. I'm not sure I've seen any question here yet. Ngozi, help me if I didn't see any, or you spotted any that I didn't see.
Not at all, sir.
Okay, great. So it means I didn't miss anybody out. Maybe I should just go ahead and share these few announcements, and Ngozi will take it up from there. And if there's any question before we are done, because we're wrapping up now, then I can always answer them. So Ngozi will give more details on this, but since I have it here, let me just share that. So as I mentioned, this is a series and it continues next week, same time. We're going to send an email to every single person who attended this. I want to encourage everyone who is here to share this and spread this word. And the reason why this is important is because we need to be able to put the future in perspective. Being an entrepreneur is an opportunity to create fortunes, not just for yourself, but for other people. And the mission of EduStart is to be able to create high growth entrepreneurs that can create multi-billion-dollar businesses in Africa, basically creating prosperity for yourself and other people. And the idea is this: if we can't drive development following the government level, that is from the top down, then one of the cheapest ways to drive development is from the ground up. And one path to achieving development from the ground up is by helping persons to operate entrepreneurially and create prosperity at that level and put the power in their hands. And that's what EduStart is trying to drive and to push. So what we're going to be doing in this series is to help every single person here to be able to achieve that. As long as you're following, try your best not to miss any of the sessions so you can make the most of what's available here for you. This is just the first in the series. We'll be continuing the series by next week. Also, in addition, I would like you to join the EduStart Learn community. Ngozi, how are they supposed to join this? Can you put the message for them in the chat section? Maybe is it their emails or what exactly?
Yeah, so I just shared a link on your on the chat button. So that link is for the Telegram channel that we created. So it's bit.ly/EduStart community. So when you go on your Telegram, just using this link, you can actually sign up to EduStart Learn community. So in this community, we'll be sharing with you programs that we are holding. If there are any few tips Doctor would like to share with you to let you know, or upcoming programs or opportunities that we see, we'll also share it out to you. So if you're an entrepreneur and you need some clarity to some questions, you can further engage. And also part of this community will be a way whereby we can integrate to know ourselves better. So if one person is doing a particular business, you can open a channel whereby you can actually share what you do, and so that other people can benefit from it. So this is just one out of many more that will be available on this channel. So I would like to encourage every one of you, go to Telegram and then click on use this link to be a part of it. Thank you. Doctor, you can go on.
All right, so that's how to join the EduStart community. So you can follow the link that is in the chat section that Ngozi just mentioned about now. Another announcement here is for those of you who are students, I'm aware that there are some students from some higher education institutions, at least I'm aware of a particular university, where they ask their students to join here. So you can bring EduStart to your school. Please use the email on the screen to engage further on how you can bring EduStart to your school, and they will gladly come over there virtually and physically to add value as much as possible and see to it that we're able to create the next Bill Gates, Elon Musk's, and those that will help us revolutionize and change things and advance the world, right? You can also sign up for the EduStart Reach to get the help and support to move yourself from intention to execution when it comes to creating your own venture. The link for this, because what's the link for this? Is it the next billion, I guess? EduStart.global/next billion.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, please help me put that in the chat section as well. And there's a program, I think Mrs. Akumadu will help us on this. There's a program on jobs in 2021 that's taking place this month. I think that's on the 26th or so. She will share that. You can sign up using that particular link. And as Ngozi has said, you can follow EduStart on social media, just EduStart Global, at EduStart Global on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. I think you might get that on the chat section. You can also follow me on social media, Instagram, Twitter is just Steve Oluwatobi. Steve, I think it's only Twitter that is Steve__ Oluwatobi. But other platforms is Steve Oluwatobi. YouTube, Steve Oluwatobi, right? And this session, like you can see, is being recorded live on YouTube. So you can check the EduStart channel for you to access the recordings and make reference to this and share with other persons as well. Ngozi, I think I'm done with that. Thank you very much for the session. So Ngozi, over to you. Thank you. If there are further questions, you can let me know. I'll answer them before leaving.
Okay, sir, thank you very much. Mrs. Akumadu would shed more light on the partnership bringing EduStart to your school. So Mrs. Akumadu, please over to you now.
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for that lecture that was just delivered now. It was really inspiring. And we just don't want this to be limited to just the few of us that are here. And we want to expand it to the whole world, to Africa, to Nigeria. And we want to bring EduStart to your school, your institution, even your office, if you work somewhere. And you can actually reach out to us on partnership at EduStart.global for us to begin conversations around this. And then you get to know the values we are offering, and then you will also know how you can benefit from this. And I would also like to talk about the webinar coming up with the team jobs in 2021. Some of us may want to change our jobs or actually looking for beautiful jobs, and there are things you need to know that can make you employable. And that is why we would like to invite you to that webinar. It's on 24th of November 2020. We'll be sharing the flyer with you via your email addresses, and then you can sign up via the link bit.ly/employer, employer as in EMPLOYA. I really appreciate it. And also like you to follow EduStart on all social media platforms, where it's the handle is at EduStart Global on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Thank you very much. Ngozi, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am, for shedding more light on the different announcements. Okay, so thank you, everyone. I'm sure you've had an awesome time. Please, I'm sure you've heard what Doctor has shared today. And it's like he said earlier, it's a series. It will continue same time next week. Try to reach out to your friends. Try to reach out to your co-colleagues, your schoolmates that you know that they have startups or businesses and they need to have more light on how to go about it. You can also reach out to them and let them know of this program. If you have further questions, be sure to reach out. We deeply appreciate. I don't know if Doctor have anything to say or we just call it a day. Hello, Doctor, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I said, do you have anything else to share with them before we
No. We'll see next week. Continue same time.
Okay. Okay, thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.